Callaway's new Rogue ST drivers represent a breakthrough in driver performance. The Rogue ST drivers are Callaway's fastest, most stable drivers ever. Think speed, go Rogue with Callaway, the kings of distance. To find out which Rogue ST driver is right for you, visit callawaygolf.com.au. Hello and welcome to episode 58 of The Thing About Golf, Golf Australia magazine's never-ending quest to solve the riddle of just what it is that appeals to people about this endlessly fascinating game. My name's Rod Morri, and on today's episode we're going to talk golf and trailblazing and the breaking down of stereotypes and what it takes to be at the forefront of change. My guest today is a name that won't be familiar to most of you, but don't be fooled. What Geraldine O'Callaghan has achieved in life and golf is in some ways at least as impressive as some of the major winners and senior officials that we've welcomed to the show. Gerri is one of only a handful of women course superintendents in Australia, having recently been appointed to the top job at Sandringham Golf Links in Melbourne. For those unfamiliar, Sandringham's a public course, but it is managed by its better-known neighbour across the street, Royal Melbourne. Gerri's promotion to Sandy's top job late last year firmly establishes her as a potential future superintendent at RM, one of the world's most highly regarded clubs. So what does it take for a woman to be so successful in such a male-dominated industry? Obviously, Gerri's great at her job, but it takes more than that to break down stereotypes. It takes a certain attitude, determination, an open mind, and a confidence that not all of us possess. Gerri has all those things in spades, and today we're going to find out a bit about the journey that brought her here. Gerri O'Callaghan, we have to start by saying thank you, as I always do. It's quite the commitment to do the thing about golf, so we appreciate you taking the time, of which I'm going to guess you haven't got necessarily a whole lot. Can you give the listeners your name, rank and serial number, please?
Well, thank you, Rod. My name's Gerri O'Callaghan. I'm now the superintendent at Sandringham Golf Links, which is the home now of Golf Excellence of Australia.
You're the superintendent now. When did that happen?
About 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Previously, I was, for the 14 months before that, the assistant superintendent here, and that was a fantastic time with the grow-in of the second 9 holes of the new layout.
Mm-hmm. For those not aware, Sandy's a public course, smallish plot of land across the road from Royal Melbourne. Royal Melbourne took over the lease, I think, or the control of the course some time ago. It's now the home of Golf Australia and the PGA. Their offices are here in a high-performance centre, and it's also been completely redesigned and is really drawing some accolades for being a public facility with a difference. Tell us about some of that, because apart from being the course super, you're an extremely good golfer with an interest in the game beyond grass. So tell us a bit about the place.
Yeah, that's correct. I started here 2011 before my first President's Cup. Now I've had 2 under my belt. Since then, obviously, the OCM redesign and redevelopment, which has been fantastic. So now, as you said, the 65 par layout, a little bit shorter. There's no par 5s. So I find it's a lot more fun. Just getting out there, it's sandbelt feel. But yeah, every hole, you don't have to hit driver off the tee, and you've really got to think about that shot into the green, because there's some pretty flat greens and then some doozies of greens as well. So got that firmness about it, like across the road at Royal Melbourne, and also too that experience of the tea tree on the sides and a little bit of light rough and things like that.
Proper golfer's golf.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll talk about some other stuff as we go, but I think we probably should go back to the jumping off point of the podcast, which is the name of it, The Thing About Golf. What's the thing about golf for Gerri O'Callaghan?
So I started probably playing golf competitively when I was 13, 14 up in the country.
How did that happen? What was the path to golf for you?
In the country, as a kid, Rod, you play everything. I played softball, basketball, netball, footy with the boys. I actually had to, this is a funny side note, but I grew up and I went to a Catholic primary school, and I used to have to take a note to the nuns from my mum because I wanted to play cricket and I wanted to play with the boys all the time and just sport in general, and they were really afraid I was going to get injured. Right. So I had to take a note to say, yeah, she's okay.
We take responsibility for Gerri's injuries.
That's it. And then when I went to high school, the last sort of 2 weeks of the year was always field trips and things like that, and we went for a field trip out to the golf course and started having a hit, and the mentors there, Fred and Marion Smith, they're legends up there in Cohuna, and they said, you should come and have a hit and come and join our junior squad and stuff like that. So, progressed pretty quickly, I guess, with pretty good hand-eye coordination, and started playing. And I remember all, back then you used to have a handicap card, and I'd watch my handicap come down, and by the time I was sort of 15, 16, was on single figures, and just progressed from there, and got into the intermediate training squad, which was fantastic. Used to come down to Melbourne back then. Steve Bann, Dennis McDade, they were the head coaches back then, and Mum was always a bit nervous coming down because obviously I couldn't drive, so it was always an overnight trip to come down to the then pretty much brand new Albert Park driving range for squad lessons and things like that. But I've always found golf it's a great equaliser. No matter how good you are, how bad you are, how old you are, everyone can play it, and so that's what I loved about it. And as I said, growing up in the country, when I did my VCE, I used to love going out to the golf course, and if I'd had a bad day, you smash, the buggery out of the golf ball. But then, it's I think like greenkeeping, I find, the effort you put in is the effort you get out. So, I guess I'm a little bit OCD about a lot of things, and I like to do things well. So, I'd always be practicing and stuff like that. And again, I think growing up in the country, you can play it by yourself. So, if I didn't have any other, appointments or anything like that and everyone else did, then I could still go and play golf.
Kicking a ball to no one very quickly gets tired.
Yeah,
because you got to go
boring.
Pick it back up. Yeah,
exactly,
indeed.
yeah. A bit like cricket, no wicket keeper.
Did any of those other sports grab you at all similarly to the way golf did? And was it immediate for you? Some people, golf grows on them. Some people, the very minute they pick up a club, that's it. That's me for the rest of my life. And some don't ever bring me here again. This is the dumbest pursuit I've ever come across. They might be the smart ones, but was it immediate for you?
I think it probably wasn't like completely immediate. I think, in my late teens and early 20s, I'd lost both my parents quite quickly. So for me, golf was about belonging to a golf club. So in the early days, I think it was more about competitiveness, and I used to love netball. But I'm very much team orientated as well as, solo golfer. But I think golf more than anything, like I said, it was you versus the course or you versus the other person. So if you lost, it was just you. And in saying that too, though, when you lose in a team, that's a pretty good environment. You all get back together and you get back up and keep going.
But you can play well in a losing team, can't you? And for competitive people, that can drive you mad.
Sometimes it gives
you
you the
have a good day at the grand final and you lose. How did that happen?
Have 40 possessions and all that sort of thing. But I think in the end, and nowadays too, I just love being part of the club and like I said to you earlier, just giving back to the game as well. But yeah, for me now, golf is very much Sunday at Southern's, playing for wine and chips. You throw the balls up and, you do that sort of thing, beers afterwards and not that I'm an alcoholic, but yeah.
Just every Sunday.
Very social, yeah.
Indeed. You mentioned that you lost your parents earlier. We might talk a bit more about that a bit later, but we can, if we're not careful, and I'm very prone to this, overplay the importance of golf in a situation like that. And I guess we can probably underplay it too. That's been some time ago. What's your assessment of how golf fit in a highly stressful time? I used to write stories. There was a tournament ages ago that GolfLink ran called the GolfLink Cup. And I would often ask people how they started playing golf. And for a lot of people who move towns quite regularly, golf was their way to become part of the community, far more so than other clubs and sports. And I always wondered whether there's something about golf in particular that gives you. So what are your own thoughts about that, perhaps having had that experience of losing your parents, which is at a young age is an awful thing to happen, obviously.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there because again, how I sort of got into, I guess, metropolitan golf. I was down here playing in a tournament called the Country Teams, and some of the ladies at Southern Golf Club saw me and said, "Oh, do you want to come and play pennant for us?" And for me, that was a huge accolade. And
it is a huge accolade. It really
still is
to play major metropolitan pennant in Melbourne. Might be as competitive as amateur golf gets in the world without going to that next level where you're really a pro in waiting.
Yeah, I feel like that. I'm still very privileged to play Division 1 pennant now. So, but yeah, I think going back to it, for me, being asked to go and do something like that was fantastic. And so then when I came back from travelling overseas, and I'm a very loyal person, so I went back and found a friend at Southern and said, "Oh, I'm back from, who I'd known previously." So, and I said, "I'm back from travelling." And I said, "Oh, I think I might get back into golf." I wasn't
So you took a break from the game?
I did. I took 6 years off.
Because of losing your parents?
Yeah,
wrapped up in that?
mainly because of that. And, I was sort of a bit of a crossroad in life, I guess you could say. But yeah, as I said, when I came back, I wasn't actually quite sure if, I could still play okay, and to the level that I would want to play. But yeah, obviously, no problems at all. But yeah, coming back and then, as you said, like because I moved to Melbourne, to actually straight away be part of a golf club and to have that first group of friends and that first, I guess, social network, which it very much is when you're part of a golf club. And saying that also too, like now I've got friends and it blows me away that I say this because I've got friends that play at Royal Melbourne and Kingston Heath and all these other places that I hold, close friends. And, I'd never thought as a country kid, that'd ever happen. And, I think the sense of belonging, like you said, and growing up in the country, being part of the local sporting community, whether it's tennis or whether it's football or netball, you become very involved and I think very community minded and, you tend to look after each other. And I find for me, I even get tingles talking about it. That's, I think, part of, you belong to a club.
So perhaps we're not making it too important. Maybe it's too important for some of us and not important for some others, but it does have a very real role to play. What did you do for 6 years, Gerri? How can you be a good enough player to be imported from the country to play major metropolitan pennant and then take 6 years off? How can you walk away from the game like that?
So I think I say it quite often, it's a bit of a soul-searching journey, I guess, and I look back now and I say that I probably ran away a little bit, but for me it was just getting away and seeing, the world. And my mum, she actually, as a kid, wanted to travel and do a lot of things and was never allowed because I guess back in that day you did what your parents told you, completely. And so I actually applied to go work at a summer camp in America. And I applied, when you apply, you put down sort of your 3 strengths. And I put golf because I'd been a junior coordinator in the country and stuff. I thought, I'll teach kids how to play golf. Perfect. And I really wanted to go to like a special needs, camp. And anyway, I put just for my 3rd option. I've grew up on the Murray and I can water ski. So, third
Is
option.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the sort of thing that can really turn on you if you're not careful.
Exactly.
I can water ski.
I didn't embellish too much.
No.
I'm a pretty humble person. So, and so anyway, I ended up at a summer camp, full-on traditional Jewish camp in Pennsylvania as a water ski instructor.
A long way from Cohuna.
A long way, yeah. Got to see the Statue of Liberty, and back then, this was 2001, so, selfies really weren't a thing back then, but I have a selfie with the Statue of Liberty. And so for 8 weeks, I pretty much laid on the lake, and, these kids range from ages 7 to 17, so all they really wanted to do was tube behind the boat and kneeboard. So I don't even have to teach them how to ski. So this is pretty good. They jump in, you give them a life jacket, make sure they can swim, that sort of thing.
Make sure you don't lose any.
Exactly.
Fine,
yeah. Just put your hand up if you fall off. That was a fantastic experience and something, as a country kid, just seeing the rest of the world and sort of, I guess, finding yourself. And I ended up, so that was for 2 months. In 2001, and then I came home and I thought, no, I'm going to do it again. And I got invited back the next summer, and so I thought, I'll tack on. Back then, you could get a 2-year work visa for England. So I did that, and when I travelled in the UK and Ireland and Scotland and places like that, and I didn't actually take my golf clubs because I was like, I'm backpacking. I don't need the extra luggage and that sort of thing. So went off travelling off and on for 6 years, and then came back for the birth of a niece or a nephew or a Christmas or something like that. And then when I came back in 2007, I thought I've really got to start to get responsible and a real job and everything. And I guess you come to those crossroads in life. And, when I got back, or a lot of my friends that, they'd got married and had kids and they got a house, I'm like, I haven't got much to show for what I've done, but, never regret anything. All those experiences that I had overseas, certainly, they make you a stronger person. And I think, I myself, in my work life, value life experience, especially when you're employing people. If they've got a bit of a diverse background, that doesn't mean they're not the right person for the job, fine turf, for example, or anything like that. So I really value that. And I thought I've had all those experiences and then I find something else that I love to do, then, hopefully it'll all bundle together. And quite a few people sort of said to me, we thought you could do greenkeeping when you left school and all this sort of thing. And
had you ever thought about it? Was
no.
it ever in your mind? What would you, back then it's probably hard to answer, what would you have thought you were going to do with your life?
Yeah, well,
for all that?
I really wanted to be a commercial pilot.
Right.
I love how things work, and I was fascinated how, jumbos stay in the air with all those passengers, all that fuel and all
Me
this
too,
sort of
which
thing,
is
right?
why I refuse to get on them, because I haven't been able to figure out how it does happen. So there you go.
Yeah. So I really wanted to do that, and then, of course, everything happened. And
that's a huge ambition.
A huge
commercial
ambition.
pilot, that's a huge ambition.
And
More
again,
so than perhaps becoming a professional golfer.
That's true, yeah. Well, I mean, professional golf never really crossed my mind because I was always a bit of a homebody and, in all honesty, I probably would have gone down the teaching, and I never really thought about primary school teaching or anything like that. That never ever crossed my mind. I was always just wanted to be a commercial pilot. So,
spoiler alert, a lot of travelling if you're a commercial pilot as well. So not much different to being a professional golfer for the homebody.
Probably a lot of COVID tests in this day and age. So, and not much work in the past few years. But, things happen in life and I believe things happen for reasons and timing's everything. So, that wasn't meant to be. And, I'm off to King Island in January to play some golf. And I said, I'm shotgun. I'm in the front seat because it's only a small plane and all my friends are like, we don't want to go.
Just to put people in the picture, you have a pilot's license, do you not?
I have a pilot's license, yes. Yeah.
As well as being the course superintendent.
Yes, yeah.
Playing off.
One at the moment.
Yeah. It's starting to annoy me a bit, Gerri, I'll be honest with you.
I'll just exit now.
That's a lot of achievements. I keep coming back to, and I can see you feeling emotional there, that's a life-changing event, losing your parents early in life. It sounds like it really changed yours, but that you've thought about it, you've accepted maybe that's the wrong word.
No, I don't think that's the wrong word. You go through, and there's a lot of stages in grief. I mean, I still have
huge upheaval, enormous upheaval.
Yeah.
You might feel physically at sea for
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 19 years old to lose your mum, who's the most important person, and you think about, I do anyway. They're there for you forever. They see a lot of things that happen in your life, and they're not there. So, it does. I mean, it does tug at the heartstrings all the time. But saying that. I've always said, there's always forks in life, so you can either go down one fork, and I've always said, I could have been an abuser of everything and all that sort of thing, or I could have gone, no, that's not what my parents would have wanted. And
every reason, Gerri, had you wanted to, nobody would have begrudged you going off the rails.
That's it.
Becoming whatever, would they?
No, I don't think so. And again, I think the town that I grew up in and the morals and the values that my parents instilled in me, that probably would never have happened because, I think everyone in a small town, they look after each other and like I've got heaps of big brothers and sisters because of my older siblings. I'm the youngest of four, so two older brothers and an older sister. So you're always known as their little sister in a small town. So, I think you draw on all those experiences in life when things happen and I believe it's made me a stronger person and a more resilient. And I think, when I was a kid, I suppose I was a bit of a dummy spitter and pretty competitive when I was a kid. So now I feel like I'm a little bit more calmer and a bit more patient with people. And the role that I have now, being more of a mentor and a trainer, I guess, for me, it's a lot of pride in if they then go on to other jobs and, they say, oh, they've worked under Gerri or, Gerri taught them that, then.
Parenting, Gerri, in a funny way.
Mentorship
and parenting.
Yeah, there's probably only 2 or 3 of the boys at work that are older than me, so all the rest of them are little brothers. And, sometimes a good clip around the year doesn't hurt them. So.
I don't want to pry, but losing your parents, did that happen simultaneously? What happened? Or did they die separately?
So mum had a massive heart attack in April 1997, and then about 3 months later, Dad had a massive stroke. So,
wow.
Probably related, a bit of stress and whatever. And so, he survived for 2 years after that, but he lost the right side of his body movement. He was a very hard worker all his life, and as a lot of people that may have experienced stroke patients, that you're kind of trapped in your body. So, for us to see him, a very hard worker, and he was a good little footballer in his day and stuff, and to see him just sort of not be able to do and get frustrated, and that was pretty hard to take. But that again, it's such a hard thing to go through, and I think until you
did you say you were 19?
19, yeah.
Good Lord.
And, until you go through it yourself, you don't really know how. But touching just back on all the different things about grief, I can still, smell her perfume or smell Dad used to comb his hair over. So like Brill cream, things like all the senses are
Smells are very strong.
Very strong, or music and stuff like that. So all the memories are still there. And I say to a lot of people, I was on the opposite side of that, all of grief and everything, I was so lucky I had 19 years. So some people don't get that. They don't get as many years. So, yeah.
We could all think a little more like that often, couldn't we, about all sorts of different.
We could, yeah.
I'm intrigued by, you don't accidentally get really good at golf. So it must have been a big part of your life before that happened.
It was.
And then disappeared completely from your life for that. Did you have feelings about golf? Was it a deliberate, I don't want to be a part of golf, that's part of what I was doing before? Or was it, because it's a big thing to give up, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And even to this day, you know, like for me, it's kind of like that was my past life, like, even though I haven't died or anything, but, you know, that's kind of like, yeah.
Something happened there.
Yes.
Life changed there.
A great divide, exactly. And so, you know, like it's not that I never really thought about golf, you know, the whole time I was away because, you know, obviously I went to Scotland and saw all the beautiful courses there. And we'll touch later, but I was lucky enough 4 years to go to make a pilgrimage back there. So, but yeah, I think the whole time that I was away, it was, you know, like it was all such a new experience for me. And I think, you know, growing up in a small country town and you know, we used to do day trips to Melbourne to come to the footy, and it was just like, oh my God, how far away is Melbourne? And then I went overseas, took a plane for 14 hours and went the other side of the world.
Pennsylvania. It's like, how far away is Pennsylvania?
As far as you could get. Yeah. So no, I think, you know, like I did think about golf every now and then, but as you said before, you know, like it can be the most important thing in your life. And I think now, when I look back now, I think, oh, well, you know, where I've come to and where I've got to, it's certainly a big part of my life now. So, you know, for that little while that I didn't really play it, I don't think it never really was one of those things that I went, oh.
To do some other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think I wasted any time not playing it. So.
Indeed. So when you come back and then golf comes back into your life, what happened there and what was that like? And obviously all the way up to here.
Yeah, so I think I vividly remember the day when I came back to Melbourne and I started my adult apprenticeship of greenkeeping at Sandhurst Golf Club, which was the original home of the PGA.
PGA, that's right.
And we used to have a half day on a Thursday because it was the men's day. And so I said to my friend at Southern, I'll come, I'll work and I'll come and play the last 9 holes with you and a couple of the other ladies. And
And were you at that time, were you thinking I might get back into golf, or were you thinking I might just occasionally play 9 here and there just to be with my friends more than about the golf?
Exactly. I wasn't thinking competitively.
Oh, Gerri.
At that point.
And you probably thought that was going to happen, didn't you?
Yeah, and
you were being sensible and everything would be fine.
And this was, I mean, I was 28 when I came back and around about then, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I probably won't be as good as I used to be and all that sort of thing. And
it's an occasional thing.
Exactly, yeah. Who
needs it?
It's just about the 19th hole now.
That's right.
So, fully came back thinking, you know, when I left in 2001, my lowest mark then was 4. And so when I came back, I'm like, you know, if I'm a 12, 13 handicap, that's fine. That's pretty handy, you know. And so after having 6 years off and, you know, I've obviously got my handicap back, I think they gave me 7. So I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Easy,
first couple of years. So,
make money.
But I remember the Thursday I said, as I said to my friend, I'll come and join you for 9 holes. And she said, oh, great, I'll grab a couple of pennant players. And I'm like,
don't do that to me.
Exactly, beep. And anyway, so I came and I hacked it around for the 9 holes and I thought, oh my God, these two are going to be like, Carol, what have you pulled out of the, you know, system here. So, but it was, you know, it was still the same, atmosphere and still the same great club. And I thought, oh, well, you know, even if I get back into it and, you know, play Sundays and, you know, just have
just occasionally.
Exactly. Yeah. Twilight. That's it. And, you know, for me, it was probably more too, because I'd moved to Melbourne. I never lived a bit of networking and, you know, social
company people.
Correct. So, never realizing that, you know, probably in the first 18 months, I'd be back down to sort of, you know, 3 or 4 and playing pennant again in Section 2. So, yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind, I guess. And then, like the greenkeeping sort of came out of nowhere. Before I moved back to Melbourne, my sister was living in Geelong, so I just went and lived with her for a little while and was like, oh, if I get a job, I get a job. You know, I'm still sort of in that transition of being a backpacker and stuff. So, and just happened to have a chance meeting, with Mark Brayshaw out at the home of the PGA. So he knows my cousin's husband quite well. And long story short, his wife did the summer camp thing as well, and we didn't really talk about greenkeeping or anything. And anyway, he said, oh, look, I'll give you a resume to the super and, you know, we'll see if there's a spot. And lo and behold, just got a trial period on the greenkeeping staff there and just loved it and thought, why didn't I do this years ago? But one of those things.
You can't go. Peter Lonard told us on this very podcast that in the Australian Open, I can't remember what year it was, he hit a shot. It was being played at the Australian. He was about to lose his card. He had to make the cut, had to finish top, whatever it was. He hit a shot which he hooked and it hit a plastic wheelie bin and kicked back out onto the fairway. He got it up and down, made birdie, made the cut by 1, had a good weekend. And his career, without that, was likely going to be very different.
Wow.
Is that a bit the same for you? You didn't go seeking greenkeeping. You're now the course super at Sandringham, which puts you pretty high up in the pecking order of the greenkeeping staff at Royal Melbourne, which in the greenkeeping world is one of the plum jobs on the planet. So that's a long journey in there from not a particularly ambitious start, it sounds like.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, I like to do things well, obviously. And you know, when I sort of first got into the greenkeeping caper, I was like, oh, yeah, you know, like.
Had you ever thought about it before?
No.
You played all that golf. Did you ever think about the grass or who looked after it or how it ended up that way?
I used to think, oh, geez, you know, like how manicured places are and things like that. But I guess even back then, you know, like I think about it now, how natural. And one of my favourite quotes is from Alistair Mackenzie, and I can't remember word for word, but it talks about being a greenkeeper and, you know, what you do, the less you do to make it more natural. So you kind of want to look like you've been there, but not really. Mm-hmm. And I guess back then, you know, I loved links golf. I loved it from the start, even though Cohuna was, you know, carved out of the bush. And, you know, it's just you against the course. It's raw. They don't do much to courses in links golf, and it's you and the elements. And so I think even when I first started, you know, like I would look at golf courses but it never really clicked to me like, oh, I wonder how they do that, or I wonder how they do this.
Somebody's doing that.
Exactly. And you know, I find now, I mean, it's probably changed a lot in the last 30, 35 years. It's very scientific now, and, you know, it's not just what happens on the top of the grass.
Well, and it's actually a bit disingenuous to call people who look after grass greenkeepers, isn't it? That
Correct.
is really understating the profession that is being a course superintendent. Most of these people have university degrees.
That's it.
There's a reason they have very highly paid jobs, because they're extremely good at what they do. And it's not as easy as they make it look, like with all professionals. So once you started, what grabbed you about it, greenkeeping?
I think because, I mean, you know, having a farming background and you know, knowing that weather plays a lot of, you know, a part in it and stuff like that. And
both the enemy and the ally, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You want the rain sometimes, and other times you don't want the rain, and then you want the heat. But I think most importantly it was that I was outdoors, and, you know, like I wouldn't say I loved golf. I still liked golf, and I'm very sports orientated just in general. So, you know, to be around people that are like, you know, a lot of the staff at the moment, they're cricketers or they're footballers. And so you're talking sport all the time. And, you know, I'm talking high level. Some of them are, you know, sort of state level cricketers and things like that. So, you know, I guess I've always surrounded myself with strong-willed and like-minded people. And there was 3 other girls on the staff at Sandhurst. So, yeah, it was a good little community to get into, I guess, straight away. And I just really loved, again, I guess, about that belonging in a team. Because, I mean, the smallest team I worked at was when I first started here at Sandringham, which was three of us. And so, yeah, I went from Sandhurst, which was around, I think, 20 for 2 courses.
Wow, I mean, it's...
And then, of course, now Royal Melbourne, I think there's like 35 when it's full capacity. So I do love working in a team, and I think that was the whole environment. And, you know, again, fine turf surfaces, and you walk away and you've mowed the fairway, you've mowed the green, and you go, oh, someone's going to enjoy that experience. And, again, yeah, just touching on it, agriculture, I guess, and, you know, knowing that, yeah, what you put in is what you get out, and I don't know. There's a lot of things, I guess, that made me really think, oh, I could do this. And, you know, it's such a diverse skill set. You know, it's irrigation, it's hand watering, it's spraying, it's mowing, it's raking. It's a lot of things that you have to.
You got to be psychic.
Be good at, yes.
You got to be a scientist and a psychic. You
got to have eyes in the back of your head to spot the golf balls and all these sorts of things.
Well, there's all that sort of stuff as well. The elephant in the room, of course, Gerri, is that you're a woman. And we don't automatically still yet associate being a course superintendent with being a woman. It's not that there aren't any, but it's what we might have considered a stereotypically male job, like being a mechanic or a plumber or a carpenter. There's no good reason for that, but that's the way the world's been for a very long time. Has that been a part of the journey for you? Has it been an issue? Have you felt like a trailblazer? Have you ever been made to feel unwelcome because you're a woman?
I love that word trailblazer, and I've never said that I am a trailblazer, but I think I'd like to think I'm very much a role model. And, I think when I first started the greenkeeping, you know, never in a million years did I think superintendent. I was always like, oh, you know, a senior role or a management role somewhere would be great to be a mentor and things like that. So I think the journey for me, you say unwelcome and all these sort of things. Everywhere I've been, it's been very welcoming. And, you know, like, I guess I'm pretty easygoing, so I get along with everybody, and I'm very much a helper. So I've always said, you know, if I would never ask, as a boss, I would never ask my staff to do anything that I wouldn't do. So, if it's Friday afternoon and we're out there and it's pissing down with rain and, I'll be there finishing the job so we all finish on time, that sort of thing. So I think for me, it's very much a respect thing as well. I would like to think that everywhere I've been, I've got the respect of other people because I can do just as good a job or an even better job, and I can operate everything like everyone else. And sort of going back at the very start, it was, I guess, a bit daunting because, yes, it is very much a male-dominated industry.
When you walk into a course super shed on most maintenance facility at most golf courses, most you're not going to encounter a woman.
That's correct.
And so if you are a woman and walk into that, I would imagine that would be extremely intimidating. Even if all the blokes are wonderful and lovely and nice, that's got to be an intimidating environment at first.
Very, very intimidating. And I think too, because, you walk in and again, it's like I say a lot of the time at Royal Melbourne and now at Sandringham, because I'm the only woman on the staff, you're singled out for good reasons because, they see the blonde hair and they go, oh, there's Gerri. That's not like, oh, there's Max, there's whoever, because they're all just the boys. There's so many of them, but because I'm the only girl.
To be honest, we're a diamond, Gerri. You can pick up there'll be another one along any minute. Don't panic.
Exactly. But I don't think intimidating is a good word because you do walk into a room and for me it was, oh my God, they've all got so much experience and all that. And
you're sort of two down, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah.
You're new and you're different.
Yes. Yeah, and I might not know as much as what they do, and I haven't been here as long as them and all that sort of stuff. And so on the flip side of that, I went, well, I can teach them about golf because a lot of them play golf socially, so they don't really I guess I shouldn't say they don't understand. They don't really, I guess, get the golf like how I get it. So for me, it was imparting my knowledge of playing golf and travelling and stuff like that on them, and hopefully, teaching them, and then I put my member's hat on and I think, oh, you're sitting beside a green and you've got the bloody machine revved right up. Well, just take it all the way down, let them putt out, then continue your work, that type of thing. So I looked at it as they know a lot more than me, but I know a lot more than them too. Yeah. So, there was a bit of give and take.
Golf's a funny game in some ways, isn't it? Because it's kind of global. Gender, race, all those things go out the window as soon as we introduce playing ability.
Correct.
I mean, in the pecking order of golf, Kari Webb is so far beyond me. It's unimaginable. You're well beyond me, so you're a better player. And that must be, I don't know if that's unique to golf, but there's something interesting about that, isn't there? If you're going to be in the golf industry and be a woman, is there something in that?
I think so. And I like to think, again, I'm very lucky to live on the East Course here, and we'll probably touch on that later. But, I like to think that, because when I go out and play, I see things differently to everyone else. A, because I'm a better golfer, but also too because I'm a greenkeeper. So, I was saying this to someone actually just yesterday. Let's say you're doing bunkers, for example, and, you drive into a bunker. That's all you're focused on. But then when you're playing, you go, oh, we need to cut that bit of grass. We need to cut that, And so I think, when you're a better player, you do see things differently. And I hope that, I instill that into the boys so they do a better job out in the golf course. And to me, it's all the little things that make it better. And, and hopefully, whether it's, you trim around that sprinkler head or whether it's you rake that bunker perfectly and you place the rake in the right spot, all those things that, the member comes along and it's not like, they've done that again. They've done that again. And it's just that pleasant, I guess, experience that you're giving to people. But yeah, I mean, I don't see me being a better golfer any hindrance. Like, I would play with anybody.
Oh, of course. No. And I wasn't suggesting that. But,
no.
But it is the right, there is a pecking order, isn't there? And ability is absolutely.
Yeah. And we joke about it. Quite often there's a bunch of us go and has a hit of golf, and now it's great at Sandringham because, we can come over here and still be in our work gear. So, they'll come straight from work, go and play 6 or 7 holes. Whereas obviously at Raw, we have to get changed and all that sort of thing. But it's great because, I'll tee off the whites with the boys and have a bit of a joke and things like that.
Are you the best golfer in the shed? 35 people, you said?
I'd be close to it. I wouldn't say I'm the best.
No, but you'd be in the. Yeah. You can hold your own clearly.
Correct.
Easily.
So, but yeah, it's a bit of a joke, because. Yeah, anytime we talk about golf and this and that, and I think in the past 3 or 4 weeks, my 6 club championship has been mentioned about 20 times. So the boys are like, oh, they roll their eyes and carry on. But I think I've never, I've never been one to say, oh, I'm the best golfer or that because, there's always better people out there. But I would like to think that people want to play with me because I'm a better golfer.
Because you're Gerri.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you say 6 club championships?
Yes.
It's not even double digits yet. Why would you be talking about it? Why would anybody be mentioning it?
I know. Yes. Well, saying that Carol Besley, who is one of my best mates at Southern. She's got 17, so I'm on her tail.
Just a little ways to go.
Yep.
Where does that fit in your life and your golf experience, being a club champion, not just once, but 6 times?
It's pretty unbelievable. And we had presentation day just last week, and I always say it's an honour to win the club championship, and to represent. Then you're the champion for the year, and I guess it's like winning the claret jug, but
they don't gift it to you. It's not an easy thing to win.
No, it's not an easy thing. This year was a tough match, and we play 2 qualifying rounds and then into match play, and I love match play. It's do or die, and you just got to beat him in the hole. Doesn't matter the score. So for me, it's I guess it's a culmination. We played in November, so it's a culmination of a year of playing pennant early in the season, and then playing your golf throughout the year, and when you get to a low mark, obviously it's all about consistency, and I judge it on, I look at my handicap at the start of the year and the end of the year, and so this year I've gone out 0.6, so I'm been a bit slack this year, and but to win the club championship is, for me, it's probably very, very close to pennant, because as you said earlier, that's the best amateur golf you can play without going and
proper amateur golf. Yeah. There's a level of amateur golf which is really professional in weighting.
Yes.
Just below that is proper amateur golf, which is what you're playing.
Correct. Yeah. And so and now being a greenkeeper, like for me, club championships, setting up for club championships is the epitome of the year. So I always hold it very high, and to be a 6-time. To say that I've been a 6-time club champion, I think about people that I grew up idolising in country golf and stuff like that who have won 10, 15, and I think, like I've got my name on the trophy 6 times. So, yeah, it's a very, I think it's a very honour. It's very much an honour to be able to win it. So,
Callaway's new and improved Chrome Soft family of golf balls is better for everyone, from amateurs to major winners like John Rahm, Phil Mickelson and Annika Sorenstam. Now, with Callaway's proprietary new precision technology, the Chrome Soft family delivers Callaway's highest quality, best performing and most consistent golf balls. To learn more about precision technology and the new and improved Chrome Soft X and Chrome Soft XLS, visit callawaygolf.com.au. When you go to Southern and you drop into the maintenance shed, are you Gerri the club champion, or are you Gerri the course super from Sandringham?
Well, Sean Taylor, we have a very good relationship. So I do drop in every now and then, and I'm Gerri the course super. So depending on how his day's been, I'm Gerri the golfer or I'm Gerri the super. But
I'm here today as the club champion, Sean. There's some things we need to talk about.
Exactly, yes. Cut that tree down, do this and do that. We have a great relationship. And
could that be awkward? I could imagine that.
Oh.
Being the course super here and being a member at a different club,
very much
there's a possibility for that to be.
There is. And people quite often say that to me, like, oh, are you going to impart any knowledge? And, I'm going to pass on knowledge, and if it helps the boys at Southern learn something. And we actually had one, Jack Besley, who's the foreman there now, he came and volunteered at the President's Cup. And he had a great time. And so he took back some ideas and I think too, it's more about like organisation. And when you get exposed to, I think there's 10 or 11 on the staff there. So then when you get exposed to a big team and the organisation, you can take small bits back and which will make your facility run better. And they were actually building a maintenance facility. And so I got all the boys and we did a tour at the Royal Melbourne sheds. And so they've got
a facility.
They've got a Lego version of that.
Right. That's a facility. I've been over there. That's its own little city. It's amazing.
It's got its own postcode. And the turf industry is great like that. And it
is a fraternal.
Yes.
Or is it competitive?
Bit of both?
Bit of
both. Yeah, there's certainly some competitive, I guess, levels of it. But in saying that too, everybody helps each other out. I mean, like Royal Melbourne's great and Richard's a fantastic mentor. And even just, you talk about Royal Melbourne in general, and, we just recently handed off some equipment to Horsham Golf Club. And then, last year, the year before, we went up and helped out a couple of country clubs. We just sent machines and a couple of guys up for the day, and, whether it was scarifying or whatever they were doing, we just sent them up. And the recent, I think it was in the winter, was Axdale or Woodend, I can't remember which golf club it was, but they had a massive storm go through, and so we sent up 5 guys for the day in our truck and chainsaws and, all those sorts of things where you get in and help people. And I think too, as the competitive nature of the Sandbelt in Melbourne, I think that's a different level completely. But yeah, going back to Sean and my relationship, like we can sit down and have a beer or coffee and just chat about what we've been doing at Sandy, what they've been doing there. And, like it's just, and a lot of the time the practices are the same. It's just here in Royal Melbourne, everything's on like a big scale. It's just like, on steroids. So,
Are you a better golfer than Sean?
Yes.
Or hashtag awkward.
He'll definitely admit to that too. So.
Yeah, indeed. I will just say we had Richard on this podcast in the lead up to the President's Cup in 2019. It's still one of my favourite episodes. I urge anybody who's got any interest in golf to have a listen. He is genuinely, he's quite a special sort of a bloke, isn't he? I think Australia's lucky to have him in a sense because, go and have a listen. I think you'll pick up on what I'm talking about. A terrific bloke. Let's talk about Royal Melbourne. It's got a special place in world golf. It's certainly got a special place in Australian golf, consistently considered by those who know anything about this sort of stuff. The composite course, undoubtedly the best course in Australia, and the two courses individually, both in the top 5, the West probably the best. And yet, one goes to Royal Melbourne and never feels intimidated, or it's a place that could do that if it wanted to, doesn't. Talk a bit about the culture of Royal Melbourne, even just to the point of getting involved here at Sandy Links. I think it was about 12 years ago they took over the lease here.
Yeah. Like for me, that was such a, for lack of a better word, a genius stroke because, if they're going to keep hosting tournaments, like a lot of places in the world, everything grows, but you've got the same piece of land and stuff like that. So logistics of big tournaments at a place like a President's Cup. Ridiculous.
You need at least 2 other golf courses just to handle the parking.
Correct. And it went hand in hand that, they started to lease. It was just before I think the 2011 President's Cup, which was, obviously I came in February 2011 and, I just thought, whoever thought of that was such a great idea because, it's kind of a bit of a legacy too, I guess. And getting back to, Royal Melbourne, making you feel just like you're at home. They're very community minded, and for me, coming to Royal Melbourne, I'd played there as a junior a couple of times, and it's this, I guess it's that moment. It's up on the hill and all that sort of thing, but very much so. Like the members are fantastic, and I guess because I'm a golfer and I'm a very engaging person. If people walk past and members walk past, hi, how are you going? I'm good, thanks, how are you? And that's all you need to say to them. But, they're always very interested in what you're doing. And I think they really get and understand all the hard work we put in to make it always be on top. And, the staff are fantastic. And I think, I say the word culture and professional in the same sentence a lot when I talk about Royal Melbourne because it's very much a professional place. But the culture is great, we don't get to really, socialise much with the clubhouse staff just because we're all so busy and stuff. But, you go up there, even, we go up there anytime and, you're very welcomed. You walk in, the members will be like, oh, hi, how you going? And that's in the clubhouse, which, you don't go in there very often, but you certainly don't feel intimidated. It's not like, I can't go in there and that's
It's not what you expect, is it, Gerri? I think everybody goes,
no.
Everything we have in life comes with some sort of preloaded
expectation.
And you expect the first time you go to Royal Melbourne that they'll have this superiority complex and that you'll feel intimidated and that you'll feel it. And you genuinely don't. That's not true of all high-end golf clubs. A lot of them you do feel out of place and you do feel intimidated.
Yeah.
But Royal Melbourne, which means it's not fake, doesn't it?
Yeah,
they're not
it does.
trying to pretend like that. They genuinely... There's something about confidence in it. Royal Melbourne has a confidence about its place in world golf where it has no need to try and tell you how good it is.
That's it. And one of my favourite places on the complex is on the 5th West Tee, which is a famous par 3, and my favourite hole is the 6th, which is the next hole.
Mine too.
And, I'm always in awe when I get to go and play after work and stuff, or all members ask me to go and play. And I think the actual piece of land is exactly like that. It's very understated. And, it's just beautiful rolling hills and, undulations, and the greens are fantastic, complex. But it's like, it's not cocky.
It has grandeur, doesn't it?
It does.
But it's genuine class.
It is,
It's not mutton dressed up as land.
No, exactly.
There's a magnificent sweeping grandeur.
And what you see is what you get.
Yeah,
I agree with you. And like you said before, it just has that air of, yes, we're Royal Melbourne, but that's it. There's no other underlying, confidence or anything like that about it. And for me, it holds a special place because, it's always been at the top of the golf. And then, for me to come and work when I first applied for the job at Sandringham, and a lot of people said, "Oh, why are you going? It's a public course." I said, "Well, Royal Melbourne's leasing it." And I said, nothing bad can come of that, and who knows what the future will hold. And lo and behold, 10 years later,
here you
things
are.
happen.
Yeah,
So,
indeed. I've always thought of Royal Melbourne a little bit for golfers, a little bit like Augusta National. I think all Australian golfers feel a little bit of a sense of ownership of Royal Melbourne. It's Australia's golf course.
Yep.
It's the one we have to show to the rest of the world at the President's Cup and those sorts of things.
that's it.
And it stands up and holds its head up in any company. And I think we all have a pride about that, despite the fact that most of us will never be members and most of us will never really get to play it.
That's it. And
You don't need to play it, though, do you? I find I can follow 15 and I've followed 15 markers around Royal Melbourne and enjoyed watching the golf.
absolutely. And like today, they're hosting the Sandbelt Invitational there.
Who
And
did the pins, Gerri? I saw the pin on 18 West. That was cruel.
that was the chief himself. So,
Big man.
But, I've looked at that event, the 4 days, and it's four completely different strategic golf courses. And, for me, I've always said Royal Melbourne holds its own. And the greens, it's not a long course. Again, we talking about Sandringham earlier, and, a lot of those guys, 10 West is a great example. Not many people hit their driver off the tee, even in the President's Cup.
No,
They weren't even,
I think
right?
Dustin Johnson hit 2-iron through the back if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken.
One east, another great hole, so
A great golf hole that always gets overlooked.
if you walk off with par off the first east,
Absolutely.
you're a happy man.
Yeah, that's right.
So, for me, you play somewhere like Royal Melbourne and you just got to have such a great imagination around the green. You go to a Kingston Heath, don't get me wrong, still the same imagination, but, you can be a little more generous and
Different test, isn't
absolutely.
it?
And
Test.
Yarra will be different again tomorrow. It'll be probably quick, and whereas ours are bouncy, So, and then Peninsula Kingswood, what a great facility that is. So, when you put it in amongst like a 4-day event like that, you just go, how good's that? Royal Melbourne holds its own because it's not long. You got to be in the right.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. Just pour that on yourself. That's fine. Jerry's just spilled her water bottle, by the way, all over
Sorry.
herself, and I'm not editing that out. So there you go.
Oh, no, don't
one
do
back.
that.
No, you can fly a plane. You play off one, and you're the course superintendent. Every now and then they've got to have a chink in the armour, and that's going to be it. I'm publicly exposing you.
Fine. Now I've wet my pants. It's okay.
Let's talk about the President's Cup. What an event. And it was, I think, the best event of 2019, and a lot of people think so too. And it was a magnificent, one, we got to see Tiger Woods at Royal Melbourne, and that's like the great violinist and the world's best violin coming together, I thought.
Absolutely.
There were 23 golfers in the field, and there was Tiger. He was by far and away. It allowed him to show off his extraordinary skills, I thought, despite not being 7,500 yards or 8,000 yards, all that sort of stuff, which was amazing. But for the course staff and for the course itself, tell me about what it's like to be part of the President's Cup. When I spoke to Richard about it, that is some operation.
Oh, it's amazing. I think we had like 90 staff in our smoko room, which normally holds 30. So that atmosphere in itself was electric.
And from all over the world, Gerri?
All over the world, yeah. We had supers from America. We had guys from New Zealand. We had everyone, people from all over Australia. So, and such a diverse range, of experience and youth and just, enthusiasm. And I was very privileged to be in charge of the bunker crew. So every day I got my team together and, gave them the rev up. And it was, I always try and have a sporting analogy, and it's like a footy team. You get your team together and you pump them up, and we get out there, we have a good day, and at the end of the day you sit down, you go, right, that was a great day, we could have done this better, could have done that better. But it probably started 2.5 years before that for the preparation of the greens and fairways and things like that, and like you said, the composite course. What a fantastic, venue it is. And then, and then it starts with all the building of the marquees and all that sort of thing. And so it's such a background, type of thing.
Front of mind for the whole superintendent greenkeeping team, I imagine, for that whole 2.5 years.
Absolutely.
Everything is about that.
Yeah. So you sort of, I guess it's like a lot of things when, you're planning for your holidays, you work back from a certain date. Well, you'd go, right, this is the date that we need to be on show. The start of December, we've got to be ready then for the junior presidents, because we had the junior presidents Cup too. So such a new dynamic, because we'd held the Australian Masters, I think it was World Cup a few years earlier, back to back.
Yes,
2016 maybe.
I think so.
Anyway, and then so to hold a back to back, so to have your greens primed pretty much for 12 days was such a huge thing.
For that level of golf.
Absolutely.
Normally 4 days is about all they can do, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. And Craig Anthony was, he was taking charge of the greens and just had them like spot on every single day. And so the 2 years before, obviously, we didn't lift any greens. That's the way that we take away the thatch and that at Royal. So, none of that, all of that sort of gets put on hold, and everything then is in the lead up to the President's Cup. And for me, it was, such an honour to be leading a team and because everything's televised and everything's global. Like, I can't remember what it was, how many billion people were going to be watching. And, it could have been the last time we saw Tiger and all this sort of thing. So the crowd was electric, and every day it was just, you could hear a roar. And we would sit in the work sheds watching the TV and going, that's just out there.
Yeah.
And then you'd hear the roar.
Oh, that's my bunker. He's just hit that in.
That's it, yeah. And then so I was privileged enough then also to the last day I was, we sent out someone boarding the bunkers with every group, and I had the Cameron Smith, Justin Thomas.
Oh, wow.
I actually got to pick because I was the bunker queen.
Good pick. Good match.
Yeah, so I really wanted to watch Justin Thomas. And Ricky Fowler was my second choice, and he hadn't been playing that. I was like, I'll take Justin Thomas. And that was before I'd heard he was going to play Smith. So we're actually out on the Saturday afternoon, late, doing our bunker thing, and we're standing there watching one of the scoreboards, and they were doing the team pick, the match picks for the next day, and Justin Thomas, and we're all standing there, and Cameron Smith, I'm like, yeah, like,
winner.
I probably roared as loud as I would if I saw Tiger chip in there on 7 West. So that was fantastic to be inside the ropes, to watch all that, and that was the culmination, obviously, of the week. But yeah, leading up to it was just the month out, the 2 months out. It was very much a scheduled plan.
Accelerates though, doesn't it?
It does.
At 2.5 years, you're doing bits and pieces.
That's
With
it.
3 months to go, it starts to really ramp up, and with a week to go.
And, that 6 months before, obviously, Richard was, people were contacting Richard and probably for the 12 months before, is there any spots for this, and so, and again, you talk about the golfing fraternity, a lot of supers would, contact Richard and say, look, Billy wants to come and work at the President's Cup. Have you got a spot? Yeah, sure. Send him over. And so we got such a great, we had apprentices, as I said before, we had apprentices, supers and everything, and they just wanted to come and work for us. And so at one point I had, his name was Barry. He's from New Zealand, and he'd been greenkeeping since day dot pretty much. And I was bossing him around, doing bunkers and showing him how to do bunkers. And I'm like, oh my God, like,
not right about this.
Exactly. I should be like bowing down to him. And the guys from the States were hilarious. They just came out, they'd never seen cooch before, and they'd never experienced like such hot weather. And to say that it was an amazing event, like everything. Richard has this knack of, like you talk about the weather before, like it was mid-20s the whole time. We didn't have the previous President's Cup, 2011, I remember we had a downpour on the Saturday, and the car park here at Sandy turned into a mud pile, and, they were washouts in bunkers. So, touch wood, this didn't happen that time, but it all went off flawlessly. And I think one of for us as the management team, one of the lasting memories I had was I went and thanked all my bunker crew and made sure I thanked everybody on the Sunday night having beers, and they all said, we can't believe how calm everybody was on the radio. Nothing ever fazed you guys, and everything was organised down to the T. And I think for us, to walk away from that week and to have, no one went to the wrong hole to start mowing, no one, and all these things that can happen in the background and throw a spanner in the works.
I'd imagine.
Exactly.
It'd be almost unheard of. And the bigger the crew gets and the more people want to help, the more chance for those things to go wrong.
Absolutely. And, you go from, every day managing 2 or 3 people or 4 people to I had 15 to 20 on my bunker crew. So, and I had to check every bunker and even down to the, we used to, where they were teeing off at 3 West, which was number 1, we had to do all that side of the course before they were even starting to practice because of noise. And so you have to think of logistically all these things that happen behind the scenes. And it was a massive event, went off fantastically. And, I'd love to do another one some other time, and we'll see what happens.
You never know. Who knows? It may well come. We don't know. Just speaking of the logistics, I remember talking to Richard just about his head was full of truck movements for to bring in the stuff to build the scaffolding for the grandstands and the corporate center. Yep. Well, you don't just drive trucks across Royal Melbourne. There's got to be a route planned out. There are members playing golf. There's all these things to think about that you would never think about yourself, none of which, of course, has anything to do with cutting grass, Gerri. And one of the things that happens when you become a superintendent is there's a whole bunch of paperwork.
Yes.
There's a much bigger desk to drive. How do you feel about all that? In some ways, you become a victim of your own success, do you? You do this job because you love it and you love the course and you love to look after it and you love to present it. And as soon as you get really good at that, they stick you behind a desk where you don't get to do as much of that anymore. How have you found that transition?
So, yeah, you've certainly got to prioritise your time. I think time management is a huge thing, and I'm, I guess, lucky enough or unlucky enough, I'm not sure yet. I still do quite a bit of hands-on stuff. So eventually I'd say it'll, peter off and I'll need to do more paperwork. But I love to be an organised person, and we've got Task Tracker, which is a great tool for all our daily activities and things like that. And then it's great to look back on and say, oh, when did we do this? How long did that take? And stuff like that. So, for me, it's learning about all those skills as well, and bringing all that together, writing emails and, liaising, and especially here at Sandringham, it's still being, council-owned land because Royal Melbourne lease it. You've got to talk to a lot of different people, and also too now
government people, Gerri.
Government people
with forms that have got numbers like F247, and you didn't tick the right box.
That's it. And of course now the inhabitants, I guess you'd say, of our beautiful building here at Sandringham. The PGA, Golf Australia, and I guess I haven't just got the golf course to look after. I've got the whole facility here, the driving range and everything. So, I'm hoping that my skill set will certainly hold me in good stead, and I'll learn more and certainly learn off the people that are I'm liaising with and things like that. And hopefully, we can all work together and get it done. So,
just like golf, people have been swinging golf clubs for hundreds of years. People have been cutting grass for golf courses for hundreds of years. What role's technology playing in all this? We know, most of us as golfers, what role technology's played in golf and the accelerating pace of that over the last 20 years or so. Mm. How's it? You mentioned Task Tracker there. I immediately start to think how this thing, I'm holding up the phone, impacts every part of our lives. How's technology and the phone and some of those things changing the way we look after golf courses for the better, and perhaps in some ways, this is true I think of the golf swing too, for the worse? Things that we used to do that we say, oh, that's old school thinking now, that maybe we shouldn't be saying that's old school thinking. Talk a little bit about that.
You say old school thinking, that's Richard in a nutshell. No, I'm kidding. I think you talk about the phone. Even today, I was out in the field, and we've got two-way radios, and you used to be able to put up the irrigation with a two-way radio. Well, now there's an app on the phone, and I can stand there and be standing next to a sprinkler, bang, push a button, off it goes. So in a lot of ways, you're exactly right. It's made life so much easier.
Efficient in a lot of ways.
I think efficient. Yeah, exactly. And like every good computer, when it's working well, it's working well.
They're fantastic when they work.
When they're not, lightning strikes the satellite, off goes all your irrigation. But I think it's come a long way, and even today, they're trialling and they've built GPS sprayers.
And mowers
even mowers. And, robots, that'll be the thing of the future. Whether they'll be able to do the job just as good or not, I'm not sure. But certainly even just out in the driving range here, we touched base earlier about the top tracer, like how that works. And, there's not a tracker in every single golf ball. So there's cameras, there's all these things.
Magic, isn't it, Gerri? I'm not sure.
There's black magic.
I don't understand it, yes.
But, it's certainly, I think, in the greenkeeping sense, come a long way. It's still got a long way to go. And, down to things like, excuse me, when we spray, apply things to greens and stuff, we have a program called the Growing Degree Days, and it all goes on temperature and days and how long between things. And so there's all that technology, which is fantastic. And I think, we'll see what comes out machinery-wise and stuff in the next few years. And that's always a bit of a, sometimes a no-brainer. You get that, but then other times it's like, it's not quite right for us.
As a golfer, you'd be well aware of some of the pressures on golf, particularly in urban areas and public golf, and there's things that we talk about on this podcast a lot and other podcasts that I do, and there's important things about there. One of the things that's often raised by those who campaign for golf to be removed in place of something else is the environment. You're a golf course superintendent. You have responsibilities. What don't people understand about what golf courses do in terms of the environment? Are we environmental vandals as golf courses? Are we improving in that space? And what role do those who maintain the golf courses have in that discussion and the ongoing future of golf within communities and societies?
Well, look, in all honesty, Rod, I think it's a double-edged sword because obviously people would want every golf course to be totally organic, no inputs of anything that's, synthetic or anything like that. And, there's certain, especially at Royal Melbourne, but now at Sandringham, obviously now that I'm the super, there's certain expectations and, diseases, for example, or fertiliser inputs. And you need all that to maintain grass. And we touched on it earlier about it being very scientific now, and it's not just put some water on it and cut it. So, a lot of the superintendents are very much, it's about our carbon footprint and, thinking about the future. So I think it's changed a lot, again, from the last sort of 30, 35 years, because a lot of products back then, even as early as that, were all lead-based or, mercury-based and things like that. So now I think certainly a lot of the, chemistry of certain applications and things like that are very much more environmentally friendly. Everyone is trained. We have the system EPAR, and so everyone, is environmentally, I think, aware of everything that we do on the golf courses, but even the new people that come to work for us. And I think,
which is the most important first step, isn't it? Awareness of those doing the work, and a genuine commitment,
absolutely,
to do your best, even though you might not always be able to do everything perfectly, but to be doing your best is the most important thing.
Absolutely, and I think if you've got all those programs and applications in place, and something does go wrong, well then you're trained to sustain, contain it or, get rid of it as soon as you can, so that it's not going to impact the environment. But even just here at Sandringham, we have a small billabong down the back, and, there's some frogs in there that obviously, you can't touch a certain canopy of the dam or the billabong because of the frogs. So, we're always finding, native grasses or heathland and things like that. So, and a lot of, I think, parts of the golf course are very protected, and they'll be maintained for future generations. But going back to your point, I think everybody wants to do their best, and I think laboratories and all these people testing all the chemicals and stuff these days, I think, they've certainly come along in leaps and bounds, and they're always bringing out new products. And but I think, personally, I always think it's about the expectation of the consumer or the member. They want a certain level of a golf course, and sometimes to maintain that, you do have to, I won't say do the wrong thing, but not do the best thing, I guess. And going back to that, it's all about those practices and the training and people knowing what they're doing and why they're doing it and how to control it.
We're both golfers. I spoke to Richard about this as well. He used to work at Metro. It's probably the absolute poster child for the perfect golf course, which makes people want the perfect golf course, which introduces a bunch of the expectations that cause problems, as you've just pointed out. How do we educate golfers? How do we educate golfers that condition is so overrated in the way people think about and put golf courses in a pecking order, isn't it? And I just wonder how all of us who understand that, how do we go about educating golfers who maybe don't understand that?
I think the introduction of social media obviously is a huge thing now. And I know Richard, just for example, recently did a few sort of course care videos. And I think it's that relationship that the course super has, whether it's with the members or the general manager but it's that line of communication. You need to, you need to be transparent. You need to be letting people know what you're doing and how you're going about things and that. And then I think education is the big thing. If you make a short video, let's say, when we lift greens and things like that, we could archive things and make, videos. And so social media's been a great thing for that. But, I think just members understanding, the level that I guess, we as professionals, like to uphold. And again, it's whether it's Greens Committee minutes or whether it's, e-newsers, things like that. I think the only way to get it out there is to, just communicate really well.
Members can be a finicky boss, can't they?
They can.
They've
got the best lawn in the street, so.
Well, yes, and that is a real phenomenon, isn't it?
It is.
And we all as golfers have a responsibility not to do that, don't we?
We do.
Do enough of us understand that yet? And again, how do we help those people to understand?
I think, it's a hard one because as a member myself, obviously I get to go and play a lot of nice courses and you wonder how they do things and this and that. And you go, wonder why they're not doing that. And whether it's budget constraints or resources, whatever it is. And so I think a lot of the time, the member expectation is far too high.
Unreasonably high in many. And of course, core supers, to their credit, have somehow managed to produce amazing playing services with resources that weren't really up to the job for so long.
Exactly.
That the expectation is they'll just continue to
and they'll
do
get better.
That.
And next year, and I mean, how can you improve? Sometimes, how can you improve on the best?
Yeah.
So it's always that juggling act of, trying to, I guess, produce a golf course that is very much member suited. I mean, Sandringham's a great example because, like I don't want people coming here and putting off the green because they're so hard and fast, or they hit a good shot and it, runs all the way through the back.
This is a different product to Royal Melbourne, isn't it?
Oh,
Correct. It's a different product in that marketplace.
Correct, exactly. But, whatever, company you work for, I guess you've got to meet that member expectation. And, again, I always think they're unrealistic because, it's probably a perfectly, fantastically good golf course, yet you think as a member, it can be better. You need to rake the bunkers better or anything like that. So I think, going back to now my role as a superintendent, you have to be, I guess, a bit more level-headed and a bit more, just go get lessons. Don't say that to them. Do you want me to show you how to play the shot? That's
right.
probably the other
You
one.
improve your golf. Don't ask me to improve the golf course.
And it's funny. I won't say whether it's at Royal or Sandy, but you see quite a few regulars that never get much better. So it's kind of like, I don't know why you can comment on how I run my golf course and you do that. But, I think member expectations are always way too high.
There is no membership here at Sandy. It's a public golf course.
That's right.
So how does that change your role? Richard over at Royal Melbourne has a very defined membership to answer to via committees and boards and all those sorts of things. Yours is a much more fluid customer, isn't it?
It is.
Some people who play here every week, I imagine, religiously like a member, and others who'll only ever come here once. How does that change your role and how you look after the golf course and present the golf course, if at all?
Probably doesn't change too much. I think for me, I say a lot because I'm a player as well, but I think about, the average 20 golfer that's come for their Christmas party these couple of weeks, right? And, he doesn't want to be looking for his ball every bloody hole, or he doesn't want to be, searching the rough for the ball. So it's about playability here and obviously, numbers is money here. So, you don't want them to be also out there for 6 hours. So for me, I think it hit home a little bit when we first came out of the COVID lockdowns and we couldn't go any more than 5 or 10 Ks. And so a lot of people that live quite close to here couldn't get to their own golf courses, and some of them were very nice golf courses, and they came to play at Sandringham and they couldn't believe how good the facility was, the greens and just the general vibe, I guess, of the place.
You should be puffing up right now. That's an enormous compliment.
It's a huge compliment. And
their expectation was down here.
Absolutely.
And the reality was up here.
Absolutely. And I took a lot away from that. And any time anyone has a great compliment, I take it straight back. And the next morning meal, I was talking to so-and-so yesterday who plays at this golf course, and they were raving about the place. And so, it's all about, I think for me, you hit the nail on the head. It's customer experience. And for me, I always say the most important part of the golf course is your first and 10th tee and your 18th and 9th green, because it's your first and lasting impressions. And so if you walk onto the first 10, you go, I'm really excited to play this golf course, or the 10th tee, I think you're winning straight away. So, I'm hoping that I can impart a bit of my golfing knowledge, I guess, and golfing strategy. So, like today I was just out mowing a bit of rough, and so, you leave a little bit of the wispy stuff so it looks like a sandbelt course, and you want them to experience that, but then, they can still hit out of it and they can still see their golf ball. So, a lot of it, I guess, is also to, if they come here for the first time, and I very much believe in this, let's say I come here for the first time and I have 3 friends come, they're going to then invite 3 friends because it's such a bloody good place. So, it's that snowball effect of, you want people to come and want to come back.
Greenkeeping, looking after golf courses, is a passion for you.
It is.
You just made it very clear. It's also a business. And that changes things, doesn't it? You can do art as a passion and paint whatever you like. But if you want to sell it, you got to paint art. You got to paint art that people want to buy.
That's it. And I think enthusiasm's a big thing. For me, I want my staff. So at the moment we run 3 full-time staff here, and then we have a rotating 2-week stint from some of the Royal Melbourne staff. And I want to lead from the pack, and I want them to come over here with the enthusiasm that they're presenting a golf course. Yes, it's a public course, but it's a direct descendant of Royal Melbourne. We're a mini them. That's what I want it to be, because, you come here, you pay your money, you go, you play, you come, you have a beer afterwards. You want to come back. It's not like you're tied to it. You've paid this much money and you have to play every week.
You come because you want to.
You are coming because you want to, and you might only come and play once a month. But every time you come back, you're like, I remember last time. So, and you touch on it like, growing up as a kid, you went out to the local golf club, and it was just the members, and that's it. Nowadays they're function centres, they're seminar centres. It is, golf clubs have become a business, and there's a few that don't have to do that. Fantastic. But like where I am a member at Southern, we rely on a lot of outside revenue. It's not just memberships, so corporate days, all these sorts of things. And so here at Sandringham, it's that repeat business that, you need and you want. And, there's a few social clubs that are affiliated here, and they obviously love it because they keep coming back.
Yeah, indeed. It's a very different sort of customer base, isn't it? In some ways, it'll keep you on your toes. It's much more capitalist. If you've paid your membership at Royal Melbourne, well, you've paid it. Mm. And you can't not pay it again until next year. It's done. If you come here and don't like it and don't come back, the course is paying a price for it. A lot of the things you talked about particularly early on struck me as leadership, which is a very big and sort of esoteric topic. You have all sorts of thoughts about it. But it keeps me in mind, Gerri, I wanted to ask you this question. There's no polite way to ask it. Are you ambitious?
I'd like to say that I am ambitious. Yeah. I love to lead from the front. Not meaning that means I'm first here and last to leave. I'm hoping that I'll learn to be a very good delegator and a leader in the sense that I entrust and empower people. I will teach people everything that I know, because what happens if I'm not here for the day? That's my philosophy. But leadership, I think it's a big balloon, as you just said then. For me also too, being now there's another girl a lady on the ground staff at Royal Melbourne, but being the only girl too, I always thought shouldn't say the mother figure, but the big sister, I guess, figure. And leadership for me is not only on the golf course. It's about, when we're sitting down having a barbie or having a beer on a Friday and talking about life in general, and the lads, and leading them hopefully in a good direction as well. So I think leadership encompasses a lot. And as a woman, I hope I do a really good job, and also to empower my staff.
You'll probably see where I'm going with this, but is there a day in the future where the Royal Melbourne Director of Golf Courses, which at the moment is Richard, might be Gerri O'Callaghan, or if not Gerri O'Callaghan, another woman?
I sincerely hope so.
And what would that mean for golf? Why would that be a good thing?
For me, when I first was offered the role of the foreman at Royal Melbourne, I was so chuffed, because traditionally it's a male-dominated industry, tick. Traditional, very historic course. Everything. I mean, nowadays everything's equal opportunity, so that's fantastic. But
there's a lot of equal opportunity boxes that get ticked, though, aren't there?
There are.
And there's not a lot of legitimate commitment to equal opportunity amongst some of that.
Correct.
In fact, there's a lot of effort made to tick equal opportunity boxes without actually providing equal opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess for me to get the nod back then, they'd probably never had. I guess a superior or a senior woman over there. So, that was amazing for starters. And now, I've, I think, encouraged quite a few women that I know, one being Kim Kennedy at Kingston Heath. She came to the President's Cup, and, I sort of got her into greenkeeping, which was fantastic. And you touched on it earlier again about being a trailblazer. And, I just think that, if given an opportunity, anyone can excel. And, it's that support base, and it's also that mentor, like Craig Anthony, who's now the superintendent at Spring Valley. He's moved on from Royal Melbourne. He was fantastic. Just a great leader. Absolutely, fantastic guy. And, you need to have those sort of support and role models as well. But I think, for me, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to take all the accolades because of what I do and where I've got to. But sometimes you sort of just got to, take that on the chin and just do it. But, for me, I think the future's good for women, because there's so many different roles, whether it's a superintendent, whether it's a foreman, whether it's an assistant superintendent. The leadership roles, I think, and management roles are very they're within reach for women now more than ever. And I say that not meaning that they never were, like you said earlier, but I think now, we can do everything equally as good, and, we can operate everything. We can go and learn everything just as much as men. So
I was going to ask you, is there a legitimate, sensible reason why greenkeeping should be a male-dominated industry? Is there something about men that makes them naturally better at greenkeeping than women?
Not in any sense at all. I think probably the stigma was, the sons would mow the lawn at home, so they're probably better at it than women. But the mechanic that used to work at Sandhurst, he used to say he loved the women greenkeepers because, let's say you're driving a fairway mower and you hear a noise that doesn't sound right, we'll take it straight back and say, oh, we've heard this noise, what do you think it is? Whereas a guy will probably go, oh, we'll get these fairways finished. And, so I think because we think probably a little bit differently to men and, I'd say we're sometimes a bit more tentative, but then other times, there's nothing out in the field that other than like lifting heavy things and things like that, but there's nothing in the field that I can't do that a man can't do or another woman couldn't do. So I think in that sense, it's come a long way. But also saying that too, that being a manager, I guess not only in greenkeeping, but, you've got to have authority, you've got to have empathy, there's so many different skills that you need to have, and women have just as many as men. So I can't see why not in the future that a woman could be a superintendent at any Sandbelt course or any, Sydney course or
Augusta National.
Correct.
The old course.
Yeah. Pine Valley, Cypress Point, who knows, the old course. But I think, very much so nowadays, anything's within reach.
Do you see a generational shift? Because, of course, one of the things about leadership is you have to have respect, and respect generally has to be earned. Is it, how can I put this? Are younger men different in attitude in that way to older men like me who grew up in a different world?
Yeah. So, some of them are. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I mean, it's. I guess it's like anything in life. And, I've always said a diverse team is a great team because you can't have 10 of the same person. They might be the best worker and this and that, but, they're not a great team worker, or there's all these different
people is what you're trying to say there, Gerri.
Exactly.
They're all different and difficult in their own way.
That's exactly right. Everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, me included. I'm not perfect. But I think –
No, you spilt your water.
I know, all over myself. But I think that's the great team. That's the great thing about being in a bigger team because everyone brings something different to the plate. And as a leader, you need to know how to, be in touch with every single person on your team. And you need to manage – people managing is so hard because you need to manage people a lot differently. And so I think that's a strength of mine that, like I can connect with people and build a relationship and understand, that person's a verbal person, that person's a practical person. So, there's all these different facets that I think, as leaders you need to have. And, hopefully I can build on that and maybe be a trailblazer. So
I suspect you are. A couple to finish up. Where have you picked up those skills from? Every leader has had a mentor along the way or a bunch of mentors along the way. Where have you picked up these tidbits that you've been dropping here about what it actually means to be a leader? A lot of people think of leadership as just strength, and when they think of strength, all they think of is, the leader of a country who threatens to use the military, that sort of powerful idea. That's not really leadership, is it? It's a different thing. Where have you picked up your thoughts about what being a leader means, and particularly given that it's because you're different in the workplace, what that means for you? And it's a different set of tests, I guess.
Yeah. I think, current day, Richard has been fantastic. I've mentioned Craig Anthony, Paul Thomas, who's the superintendent of the West Course, and, of course, Nick Staff, who was the construction manager here and then went on to be the superintendent here. In work life, I think those four guys have been very instrumental, plus, my early bosses from Sandhurst. But I think just in life in general, my brother, he's my rock. And, he's just one of those people that I always find I'm being inspired by him. Sorry, I get a bit emotional. And, people like the lady captains at Southern and people in my pennant team. And it can be people from everyday life, and they don't have to hold – a
senior job,
exactly,
a doctor or a lawyer,
exactly. And for me, I touched on it earlier. I would play golf with anyone, and I would hope that people would want to come and play with me because I'm Gerri. But in saying that, you can play golf with people, and people come to mind like Heather Brodie, who's been a long-time member, Sue Ellery. They're both long-time members of Royal Melbourne, and now they're good friends of mine. And even just playing around a golf with people, and it's just inspiring, I think, and empowering. And when you play sport at a high level or you get to a high level in your career, it is a community effort. And, I've had people, I did a podcast with Karen Harding and
T for Two, a fabulous podcast, by the way. The first one she did, an absolutely
Thank you. Yeah, I was the guinea pig. So, but I've had people from my hometown in Cohuna who, no idea about technology, and they've all listened to it. And I've had so many text messages and so many great messages from people, and I think to myself, wow, they've all had a part. And you say it all the time, you talk about school teachers and things like that, but, I think anybody that's ever come into my life has come in for a reason, and, whether it's been for a short period or so, I've picked up and in life too, sometimes you do learn what not to do. So,
sure, of course.
There's that fine balance of taking, hopefully you'll be a lifelong friend now, Rod, and, you take things from friends and, whether it's experiences or whether it's just, being in their company, you're always learning. So I think that's a huge thing for me. And, I could talk about so many people just having an impact on my life.
Last two things, and I keep going back to guests on this podcast. We had Meg McLaren on this podcast.
Wow.
She's fantastic, Meg, and as you would know, I'll send you the link so you can have a listen. One of the things that I talked about with her was she didn't mean to, but she has become, whether she likes it or not, the poster child for gender equity in golf.
Yep.
She sent out a tweet, and that's been the result. And so she's embraced that in many ways, even though it causes her all sorts of issues and distracts her from her real life mission to be the best golfer she can be in a lot of ways. Do you feel any sense of that as well, that it's kind of been, what do they say, some people achieve greatness, some have it thrust upon them, that kind of idea. Whether you want it or not, you're kind of a trailblazer, aren't you? I
am, I hide away from it a fair bit because, I never do things for, to get the higher reward and stuff like that. So I always like to think I'm a bit of a quiet achiever, and this just comes with it. And I've now this is my second podcast, so I'm an old hand at it now. And there'll be an article come out soon in the Turfgrass magazine, and I don't know whether you saw in the Golf Australia's magazine my beautiful golden retriever. So
I did.
There's been a few things happen this year, and it kind of happened. 2016 was a breakout year for me in my golf, and it all happened within about a 4-month period. And same sort of thing has happened now. Like I've progressed from Sandringham over to Royal Melbourne, progressed through the ranks there, and now to become here. And like I said, it's been about 10 years since I've been under the Royal Melbourne umbrella, but it's been the last probably 8 months that have really, shot
accelerated.
Exactly, and I like it. I really love the fact that, I shouldn't say I'm getting the message out there, but if I
Why
am,
not? Why shouldn't you be saying that? Why shouldn't you say?
Oh, it's a very, I guess it's a very humbling experience, and that people want to know my story, and they love the story, and the fact that I like to think that I'm changing people's lives, that if they choose this career because of me, that's pretty cool.
Indeed. This is all part of that leadership thing too, isn't it? This is a whole new set of skills.
Gosh, yeah.
For you. Who knows who might invite you somewhere to talk about leadership at a conference or an event or something like that.
That'd be very cool.
Memo to anybody listening who runs conferences or events. Last one from me, Gerri. I've said it already a couple of times. We're a long way from Cohuna. We're a long way from 19-year-old Gerri. It's an impossible question to answer, but I think you'll get the gist of it. Looking back, if 19-year-old Gerri looked forward at an incredibly difficult time, could she ever have seen where Gerri is now? And what would she say?
I really think that if I was looking back, it would be go and experience everything. Go try things. If you think that's out of the ordinary, who cares? Just go and have a go at it. If you don't like it, you learn from it and you try again. It's like that fork in the road I was speaking about earlier. It doesn't matter if you don't hit, the sky's the limit. That's fine. If you only get to the clouds, that's okay. So I think looking back now, all the experiences I've had, and I don't like the word regret. So everything that's happened in my life has happened for a reason. And, I don't regret those 6 years that I just went off soul searching, and, certainly don't regret the decision to do greenkeeping, obviously. But, obviously wasn't meant to go off flying around the world, obviously meant to stay home.
Well, a little bit. You're going to fly to King Island, aren't you?
Well, that's exactly right. And
far enough for most of us, trust me.
Well, it's over water, so that could be, hopefully it's a day like today and no wind at all. But, I like to look back and think all the achievements that I've done, I'm pretty proud of. And I think, that little girl up in Cohuna would be, pretty chuffed.
One of my favourite sayings is never regret the things you do, only the things you don't. And I think that's exactly what you've said. And
That's a great motto.
Fantastic to hear your story today, Gerri. And I too hope we'll be lifelong friends. So thank you for taking some time today. It's been really enjoyable.
I've very much enjoyed it, and thank you very much for the experience.
And you know I will never get in a plane with you.
But you're going to have a hit of golf with me.
Not because of you, but because of the plane. Thanks very much, Gerri. Really appreciate it. That's it for episode 58 of the pod. I hope you enjoyed it and that meeting Gerri and finding out a bit about her journey has given you as much pause for thought as it has me. Do yourself a favour next time you're in Melbourne and check out Sandringham Links. Not only is it brilliantly maintained and a fabulous redesign, it's an excellent example of a lot of things that public golf could and should be. Now, I hope you've made the effort to follow us on your favourite podcast app, because up next, my colleague John Huggan has a very special guest.
You know, I love the individual part of it. I love the fact that when I hit a bad shot, it was my fault, because back then I didn't have a coach or a caddy or anyone else that I could blame. As you do as you get older. So it was my fault.
That's 1999 Open champion Paul Lawrie, next time on The Thing About Golf.